Yeah, go ahead.
Sundarananda then rose from his seat, prostrated himself with his head at the feet of the Buddha, and declared, "When I left home to follow the Buddha, although fully ordained, I failed to realize the state of samadhi because my mind was always unsettled. I was therefore unable to reach the condition beyond the stream of transmigration. The world honored one then taught me and Kastila to fix the mind on the tip of the nose. I started this meditation, and some 3 weeks later, I saw that the breath that went in and out of my nostrils was like smoke. Inwardly, both body and mind were clear, and I looked through the external world, which became a pure emptiness like crystal everywhere."
Mm.
So Sundrananda is explaining how when he first left home, he had difficulty in entering samadhi because his mind was unsettled. And so the Buddha gave him a technique that fit his mind more closely, and it helped him to then enter that samadhi by focusing on the tip of his nose and feeling the breath as it went in and out. But he says he saw the breath that went in and out of his nostrils was like smoke. That's interesting, seeing it. Um,
Mm.
and then that helped to clear his mind inwardly, and then outwardly everything became pure emptiness.
Mm. Have you ever tried to focus your mind on the tip of the nose before?
I have briefly, but I think I was never really drawn to it. I think because when my first exposure through the Zen tradition, they're so insistent upon the belly
Mm-hmm.
that I kind of had the idea that the belly was better. And so I never really like stuck with trying the nose for a period.
Mm. Well, I try everything. I tried before. I try to focus my mind on the tip of the nose. Yes, it's very easy to refocus my mind, but somehow it's when it's so intense, I have the headache because
Mm.
it goes to the brain. And if you don't know how to release us, you'd be crazy.
Oh.
I learned that lesson. This is so much headache because we focus on the tip of the nose. It's much easier to refocus our mind, to concentrate our mind on the tip of the nose, but it's so painful. We have so much headache. That's why later on I move my mind down to the solar point most of the time.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes if it's so intense, won't have that type of headache much. Mm. But again, that's just a good practice for common people, for normal people like us. Yeah. Mm. But like, of course, everyone is different. For him, yeah, he could focus on the tip of his nose, and he saw the white, the smoke, right? Yeah, the smoke coming out of the nose. Yeah,
Mm.
so he could see everything is pure emptiness, like crystal. So his mind is so pure. Mm. Oh, okay. Then continue one. Smoke gradually disappear, and my breath become white. As my mind opened, I choose to stay up beyond the stream of transmigration, but in my in and out breaths, and a bright illuminates the 10 directions, so that I attained the Arhat stage. The only ones prophesied that I would win enlightenment, as he now asks about the best means of perfection. According to my personal experience, the best is to eliminate breath, which will then turn radiance, ensuring the attainment of the stage of perfection beyond the stream of transmutation. So again, through his breath, he uh, attained that bright illuminate uh, uh, mind. He attained the arhatship. So for him, through the breast, he attained ownership, he attained enlightenment. Uh, so to compare with the Lotus Sutra and this sutra is more practical in a sense, right? In the Lotus Sutra, the Buddha give permission to all his followers to become a Buddha in future. But here, well, we can see some of his followers explain how they attain enlightenment or attain arahantship in the practical sense, right?
Yes, yes, seeing all the different methods they used. Absolutely.
Okay, yeah, please.
Purnamatrayani Putra then rose from his seat, prostrated himself with his head at the feet of the Buddha, and declared, "In former eons, my power of speech was unhindered, and I preached the doctrine of misery and unreality, thereby penetrating deep into the absolute reality. I also expounded in the assembly the Tathagata's Dharma doors to enlightenment as uncountable as the sands in the Ganges, and thereby won fearlessness. The world honored one knew that I had acquired the great power of speech and taught me how to perform the Buddha work by preaching. There in his presence, I assisted him in turning the wheel of the law, and since I could give the lion's roar, I attained arhatship. He sealed my unexcelled skill in expounding the Dharma. As he now asks about the best means of perfection, according to my opinion, the best consists in employing the Dharma voice to subdue the enmity of Mara and to stop the stream of transmigration." So Purnamacharya Putra was a teacher and spoke eloquently and skillfully the Buddha's Dharma, assisted the Buddha's work in that and assisted him in turning the wheel. And that's how he attained arhatship. So, yes, he feels the best means of perfection is employing the Dharma voice to subdue the enmity of Mara. So I recognize, if I'm teaching something to somebody, it definitely reinforces it for myself.
Mm.
And so if we're immersed in it regularly, then in the act of helping someone else, we're also reminding ourselves. Um, and then I think there's a deeper level of, say, kind of teaching from memory or teaching from direct seeing, like from the enlightened state, it just flowing relative to the situation. And it seems like Purnamatrayani Putra had a very profound skill in that.
Mm. I'm not sure whether this monk is the one that asked the Buddha permission to go to other country to teach. You know that story?
I don't think so.
And the Buddha say, "Well, if you go there, those people at that country, they will rude, they will stop, they will stubborn, they may hit you, they may beat you, they may yell at you. What should you do?" So this monk say, "Well, if that's the case, they still compassionate toward me because they have not killed me yet." And so would I say, "What happened if they kill you then?" So he say, "Well, if that's the case, they still compassionate that they help me to get up this physical body and be free then." So what I say, "Wow, if that's the case, go ahead, you can go to teach them." So by the way, so he is fearless here. Yeah, that's why he actually, you see, somehow this is some kind of connection or some kind of elaboration of the Mahayana views. Right, for the Theravada views, yes, this monk, he was so fearless that he would go to any place that teach people without even concern about his life. But in here, in this Mahayana Sutra, it mentioned about, yes, he had that skill, right? The skill of teaching And of course, he still want the fearlessness too. That's why he attained enlightenment through the speaking, through the teaching. Oh, right here. Yeah, this is one here. So it's so somehow we're so blessed to see these two levels, right? The one is more practical one in the Theravada traditions. Another one in the Mahayana teaching is more lofty. You recognize that, right?
Oh, yes.
Yeah. So it's better to learn two traditions. Yeah, okay. You recognize Upali?
Yeah, that name really rings a bell. Upali. I can't put any stories to him. I can't place him.
Oh, okay. So Upali, he was the barber, cut the hair. Remember that story?
Oh, okay. No.
No. So he used to be the barber for the prince at the palace where the Buddha was grew up. So when the Buddha went back to his palace, so many prince follow him to become monks. Actually, this is very interesting. Oh, okay. Let me show you interesting video clip about this Upali. So anyway, so they let me see. Let me type here. Upali become monks. So let's see. All right here. Yeah, Upali here. If you have time, you can watch this. It's very funny. It's very interesting. This one here, Upali become monk. So basically, those prince uh, gave him all jewelries because as soon as they become monk, they could not keep with them anymore. So Upali wonder, well, even they were the prince, but they want to get it off all the jewelries. I'm a poor man. Why do you need to keep this thing? So later on, he gave up everything and went to see the Buddha to become Buddhist monk. And later on, he was one of the Buddha chief disciple that specialized in the precept. And right after the Buddha passed away, Makishipa convened 500 arhat, 500 holy monks. And Ananda is the one that decide the Buddha teaching orally. And Upali is the one that decide the Buddhist precept, moralities for the whole Sangha. Even he came from the lower caste. You know why, right? The first one is
Mhm.
the Brahmin one. The second one is the royal one. The third is the business. The last one is the slave one. So he came from that slave um, mm, levels. But Buddha accept everyone into the Sangha. And later on, he was one of the Buddha 10 chief disciple who is specialized in precept. Yeah, let's see here. And okay, all right. So let me read then. Upali then rose from his seat, prostrated himself with his head at the feet of the Buddha and declared, I personally accompanied the Buddhas and reclaimed the city wall to flee from home. With my own eyes, I saw how he endured hardship in his practice. Oh, well, if you don't mind, can I talk? Okay,
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
continue then. All right, let's see here. Yeah, all right. So let's see. I personally accompanied the Buddha and reclaimed the city wall to flee from home. With my own eyes, I saw how he endured hardship in his practice during the first 6 years of Isis' life, subdued all demons, overcame heretics, and freed himself from worldly desires and all impure efflux from the mind. He personally taught me discipline, including the 3,000 generations and 80,000 lines of conduct, which purify all my innate and conventional subtle karma. As my body and mind were in the nirvanic state, I attained ownership, and the Tathagata sealed my mind because of my strict observance of discipline and control of body. I am now the pillar of discipline in this assembly and am regarded as a foremost disciple. As Buddha now asks about the best means of perfection, in my opinions, the best consists in disciplining the body so that it can free itself from all restraints, and then in the disciplining the mind so that it can be overweighting, which results in the freedom of both body and mind. So you see that? See, he was the
Mhm.
foremost in the discipline, in the keeping the precept, right? So he, with his own eyes, he observed how the Buddha attained enlightenment, even went through all kind of hardship through the 6 years of practicing artistic practices. And so for him, right, for him, he absorbed the precept purely, and that's why his mind and body in the nirvana state, he attained nirvana because he keep the precept purely, and that's why he is foremost in keeping the precept. Yeah. Mm, okay. So this is very some monk keep the precept, they attain enlightenment. Someone focus their mind on the tip of the nose, they attain enlightenment. Someone just listen to the sound, they attain enlightenment. It's just so the world is so dynamic. It's not one way.
Mhm.
It's straight, right? It's so dynamic. That's why Buddhism is so beautiful in that way. Yeah, please.
Oh. Mahamadgalyayana then rose from his seat, prostrated himself with his head at the feet of the Buddha, and declared, "One day I was begging for food in the street. I met the three Kasyapa brothers, Uruvilva, Gaya, and Nadi, who preached the profound doctrine of causality taught by the Tathagata. Suddenly my mind opened and became all-pervading. Then the Tathagata gave me a monk's robe, and when I wore it, my hair and beard fell out. I rambled in the 10 directions and met no obstruction. I thus acquired transcendental power, which proved the foremost and led to my attainment of arhatship. Not only the world honored one, but all the Tathagatas in the 10 directions praised my supernatural powers, which were perfect, pure, sovereign, and fearless. As the Buddha now asks about the best means of perfection, in my opinion, the best consists of returning to stillness to allow the light of the mind to appear, just as muddy water, by settling, becomes pure and clean as crystal.
Mm,
Yeah, I like that one. That's a pretty, I think that's a pretty commonly applied one as well. The
mm,
practice of returning to stillness. Um, so in this one, Madhgalyayana says that he initially um, had his mind began to open up just by hearing the Kasyapa brothers preaching the teachings of the Buddha, and so he became a monk. And that's funny that right when he put on the robes, his hair and beard fell out.
wow, that's common for most of them, most of the closest type of the Buddha at the beginning.
They just put him on, and they just boom.
Yeah, that's all.
Ah,
Of course, go
ah,
beyond you were thinking, right? But who knows? That's happened to them. They would not tell
yeah.
you.
I mean,
Mm.
it's not the most difficult thing to believe because I mean, people's hair will fall out from stress. So there's a way for it to fall out. So If someone was so touched by the experience,
Mhm.
then physiologically it seems like, other than stress, it could fall out from like some a symbolic action.
Mhm.
So and he acquired transcendental powers. This is interesting because it says, I rambled in the 10 directions and met no obstruction. I thus acquired transcendental power. Um, I guess the meeting no obstruction led to the transcendental power, and
Mhm.
that led to the attainment of arhatship.
Mhm.
I'm I'm not I don't understand the causation in those three sentences, um, but I do understand that his transcendental powers were
Mhm.
amazing, perfect, pure, sovereign, and fearless.
Mhm.
Um, and that he found the best method to be to simply return to stillness. So to not pursue thinking or distinction making, but return to stillness, and so that the light of the mind would appear, just like water settling down, which we've talked about that analogy quite a bit.
Mhm. Yeah. So we talked about the profound doctrine of causality, right? I just have a conversation with Dr. Michael. You see the back of my the picture in the back, my back there, the urn, right? We call the urn
Yeah.
incense stand. So in that
Oh, uh,
story,
you said the incense stand?
right here in
Oh,
front.
in front of Avalokiteshvara?
Uh-huh.
Yes.
So in the book, it's called incense dance. They say that the Zen master say, well, for common people, yes, we call it incense stand. Everyone know that, but somehow for them, there's not incense stand. It's the composition of dirt, of chemicals, of particles, and so forth. That's what we call the profound doctrine of causality. It's the couldn't stand by itself. It's the components of things like a body, like the instance then, like uh even we call the temple. Of course, we build from scratch, but there's many items, there's many type of material that we put together. That's why we have the what they call temple, but actually that's not the real one in a sense in
Mm-hmm.
our doctrine of causality because things come from all kind of components, not one's components. That's what it's about.
Mm-hmm.
So Mongayana, he recognized as doctrine. That's why his mind is so pure. There's no attachment to them, to him.
Mm-hmm.
For us, we understand, but somehow some we forget. Right? Even the iPhone, the laptop, and so forth, it's all kind of components come together. That's what we call, in general, the iPhone, the laptop. But in a sense, it's nothing to be called as the iPhone as a laptop if we take them apart.
Right.
That's why if we understand this, it's much easier for us to let go. Otherwise, most time we get attached to them. Mm.
Yeah.
Now one more times. Meditation on the seven elements. Ushuma then came forward in front of the Tathagatas, joined the palms of his two hands, prostrated himself with his head at the feet of the Buddha, and declared, I can still remember that in a very remote aeon, I was filled with sensual desire. At that time, the Buddha called the king of immateriality appeared in the world. According to him, those with lustful desires enrich their own hellfire. He then taught me to meditate on the bones of my bodies, on my four limbs, and on my warm and cold breaths. So by turning inwardly, the spiritual light for pointed concentration, my lustful mind turned into the fire wisdom. Since then, I was called Firehead by all Buddhas. because my powerful fire like samadhi attained a hardship. Then I took my red vows to become a demigod, so that when all Buddhas were about to attain enlightenment, I would personally help them to overcome the enmity of Mara. As Buddhas now ask about the best means of perfection, according to my opinions, the best consists of in looking into the non-existent heat in my body and mind in order to remove all hindrances thereto and to put an end to the stream of transmigration so that the red process fight can appear and lead to the real realization of supreme body. Wow, that's interesting too. So for this art, right, somehow in the past life he had the attachment to the body, the lustful desire, right? But somehow he met the Buddha, and the Buddha say that, you need to change to meditate on the bone of the body, on the four limbs, the hand and the feet on the warm, so that this more no more lustful thought too. So he transformed his lustful mind into the five wisdom. So that's why he made the vows to have all Buddhas before they attain enlightenment. Anyway, so in the Tibetan tradition, they have the analogy, metaphor about the fire. So some fire can burn the paper, trees, leaf, and some kind of fire can burn everything or anything if it's too hot, like the furnace, right? If you attend the funeral service at the funeral home, you see that they use um, they fire up to 6,000 Fahrenheit. That's burn everything. So anyway, so in the Tibetan tradition, they say that that type of fire, that's the fire wisdom, can burn every uh, delusional delusional mind, uh, or karma, and so forth. Mm, So and actually, when we, actually at Cordon Monastery, when we were there, we used to hit by using the wood, right? Whenever we put the wood in, it's burn everything. Yeah, of course, it's not too hot to compare with the furnace that burn the body down, but at least we know if we put the plastic in, we put the cup in, and so forth, it burn. Of course, except the metal because it's not enough heat to burn them to melt them out down. Anyway, so again, for him, he changed, he transformed his lustful thought into the wisdom fire to burn the desire. Mm.
Mm.
Okay. Mm, mm, mm. This is so amazing, right? This to listen to those kind of experience from the Buddha disciple and Bodhisattva, right?
Yes. Yeah, very cool.
Okay, sorry, we still this got only 30 minutes, but this is only one time per week to discuss the thing that relate to our life, right? And let me
Mhm.
you today.